Hello guys, welcome back. This is Vincenz and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I've got myself a Hull C and we're going to be doing a Hull C cargo trading route. So we're here at Checkmate. Some crazy things are going on in the station at the moment. Maybe it's the hackers, I don't know, but someone has placed some what look like mining rocks right in front of the terminal here. So there are some strange things going on inside the verse at the moment. But we're not interested in that. We're going to head straight to the commodity terminal here in Checkmate and we're going to buy some distilled spirits and hopefully fill up our Hull C for a trip to the Pyro Gateway in Stanton.
What's up?
So we're going to select the Hull C from our list of ships. It does show the RSI Polaris Wicklow Special and not the Hull C. But we can see in the picture there that the Hull C is selected and the cargo capacity is 4,608 SCU. Luckily, there are 5,742 SCUs of distilled spirits available, so for 1.769 million, we are going to fill up the Hull C. Commodities have been bought, and now all we need to do is grab our Hull C and go and fill it up at the cargo loading station.
Thank you for visiting. Safe travels.
The Hull C is quite manoeuvrable when it's in its compacted state, and even when you extend it, it's not too bad. Everything is a bit different when you fully load it up, and it becomes one of the hardest ships to handle in the game at the moment. Definitely the hardest ship to handle that I have ever flown. It is quite cool to see that having it fully loaded with all that weight does make a massive difference to its handling, and this is what you'd expect from a fully loaded cargo ship. So we've pulled up into the box here and the containers are now being loaded on automatically, which is pretty nice because I imagine it would take a hell of a long time to load up all these 32 SCU containers manually. It is a little bit tricky when you pull up into the box to get the actual loading to start. You've got to make sure your ship is absolutely still. So you can do this by reducing your speed limiter down to 0, and if you press the right shift button on your keyboard, it will stop the nose moving left and right, which just ensures the ship is remaining still. This is a serious amount of cargo, more cargo than I've ever hauled before in Star Citizen. And once fully loaded, I'm anxious to see if I'll make it there in one piece and manage to sell all my cargo. Once the ship is full, the loading box goes green again, and it is time to set off on our journey. With the weight on board, the ship is seriously hard to control. It feels so heavy, it's absolutely crazy. So you've got to take this trip very slowly and very carefully, especially when nearing the jump gate with all the asteroids and all the gate infrastructure around the jump gate. So we've set a route for the Stanton Gateway, and we're going to head there from Checkmate, and then we'll attempt to jump through the wormhole. Takes a little while just to get used to the weight of the ship, and you can easily jump past your marker with the weight of the ship taking you past where you're aiming. Finally, we've set our jump location, and we are underway. This ship looks absolutely awesome, fully loaded. I do like these spindles, and it is pretty epic to see this amount of cargo being shipped across the verse. Obviously, being in Pyro, it is a little bit more risky once you're fully loaded, and you can get pirated or you can get destroyed by other players. But if you just go quickly, set your markers, and move through the verse decisively, you can get to the jump gate pretty quickly and make your final approach to jump. Slowing down for the jump gate does take a long time, so make sure you prepare for that in good time. And if the jump gate's open, it is a little bit easier because you can sort of keep moving towards it. But here I had to sort of initiate the jump gate, so I had to come to a full stop. This took absolutely ages, but we managed to do it no problem. Surprisingly, in the jump gate itself, the ship is quite responsive, and it's just as easy to maneuver through the jump gate as most other ships. This trip took about 15 minutes, but we have now arrived at the Pyro Gateway in Stanton. Once you get to the gateway, you do want to find a landing pad, and you will have to jump out and head to a terminal to initiate the selling of your cargo. At this point, I would recommend doing this mission with a friend or one of your alt accounts and leaving them on board your Hull C while you go into the station. The minute I left the Hull C and went out to sell, a couple of ships did try and come near the ship, and a few guys opened their rear ramps and tried to head towards the vessel. Luckily I had my alt on board, so I just slowly moved away, and they soon got the message that there was someone on board and they wouldn't be able to board the vessel. Heading towards the landing pad, take it super carefully because, as mentioned before, bringing this ship to a full stop does take an awfully long time. It is so heavy, it is unbelievable. If you're doing this mission solo while waiting near this landing pad, other people can turn up in cargo ships and rip the cargo directly off your Hull C and steal it and put it in their own cargo holds, so just be aware of this. When you get to the terminal, if it tells you that there's no cargo on board or a lot less than you're expecting and not 4,608 SCU, this means there could be someone outside who is currently stealing your cargo while you're in the station. Being in Stanton, they can't use their guns in the armistice zone to shoot open your doors, but once again, they can rip the cargo directly off the grid and put it on their own ships. So heading into the Pyro Gateway station, I am going to head to the Galleria and to the Commodity Shop terminal. Here I'm going to select the Hull C, and I'm going to set my distilled spirits for sale for 2.42 million. Once I've confirmed the sale, it's time to get back on board the Hull C and head over to the cargo bays to unload the cargo. Thankfully, once again, this will be done automatically, and the biggest issue we'll have is bringing the ship to a full stop and getting the cargo unloading to initiate.
Contact received.
I did have a little trouble with this at first, but again, if you put the speed limiter to 0 and press the right shift button, it will help you in confirming that the ship is fully stopped. Being super careful around the station, we're going to look for the unloading box and head down there slowly. I do think maybe doing cargo missions in a C2 or a smaller ship will be a lot more efficient, and you can probably get in a lot more runs. And there are cargo runs that'll make you about 500,000, which you could probably do a lot quicker. But I'm not sure if they do auto unloading. I haven't actually tried it myself yet. So one good thing about the Hull C is this auto unloading. If you had to do all the loading and unloading manually, I can imagine that would add a lot of time to these missions. So the Hull C is a pretty good ship for doing cargo missions. Once I pull up to the unloading area, I do also think that being parallel to the actual cargo structure on the station does help you. And sometimes if you're at a bit of an awkward angle, it doesn't want to initiate the unloading process. So just be mindful that it is a lot easier to get the process to start if you're a bit more level with the station's cargo area. So we've managed to get this one to unload no problem, and it takes about 1 minute for all the cargo to be unloaded. The green box will then appear again, and once you fly out, you will get your 2.7 million credits show up in your Mobiglass. So it's not a bad run for about 600 to 700,000 credits. You know, you could probably do maybe 3 or 4 of these in an hour. So, you know, maybe a couple of mil per hour is a pretty good return for your investment. Unloading is now finished, and we are going to check to see if we've received our payout. I think we started on about 213 million credits, so let's see what we're going to be up to now. There we go, 216 million, not bad. So we've definitely received our 2.7 million, and now it's time to head back through the wormhole, back to Checkmate, to fill the ship up once again. I'm going to retract the cargo spindle to improve the handling of the ship, and make the journey back a lot quicker. It's definitely got to be one of the most impressive ships in the verse for this transformation that it can make. That is awesome. I don't really see that with many other ships. In fact, I don't know if there's any other ships that do something like this, so that is pretty cool. And it's great that when you compact it all down, the ship can handle just as well as any other cargo ship in the game. The weight makes a massive difference and it is really, really noticeable. And it's definitely worth the experience. I compare it to sort of driving a fuel tanker on the open ocean. Not that I've ever done that myself, but I can imagine that's how they work, and they do take a couple of miles to slow down. And this ship is very similar out in space. So after thinking that my cargo run was pretty successful, I thought, right, let's go and do it again, and, you know, we can keep running this mission and keep making money all night long in the verse. But unfortunately, when I did get back to Checkmate, something they don't sort of mention to you when they say, you know, cargo running is great, you know, you can do it, make 2 mil per hour, etc, etc. One thing they don't really tell you is that you are limited to the availability of whatever cargo you're transporting. So I got back to Checkmate and I thought, yep, I'll just fill up the ship again and head straight back out there. Unfortunately, this was not going to be the case. I get back to Checkmate here and I think, right, let's head to that terminal, let's buy all our stock and we'll head out once again. But as you can see here, we're arriving at the terminal, and on the right there it says there is only 2,370 SCU of distilled spirits available. This is roughly half the capacity of the Hull C, and it was only 955 Ks worth, so immediately I thought, oh, what's going on here? I didn't actually notice that it only said 2,370 SCU, and it says distilled spirits, low inventory. So I bought what was available, and then I just had to wait for the inventory to fill up once again so I could fill up my ship for the return journey. And like I say, what people don't mention to you about these cargo missions, the commodities fill up at quite a slow rate. So every sort of 15 minutes, there were like 300 SCU of distilled spirits becoming available. And obviously I still had about 2,300 SCU to fill up. So waiting for this distilled spirits to become available and buying 300 at a time, this took me about 3 hours to fill the ship for the second time. So instead of just making, like, you know, let's say I made 700,000 profit, instead of making 700,000 profit every 15 to 20 minutes, it actually took me to do 2 runs with a full Hull C. It took me about 4 hours, which for 1.4 million profit is definitely not a good return. So this is why I am going to stick to doing my Vaughn missions. You can find a ship with easily with 1 million credits in it, and you can go back to Grim Hex within like a minute, and you can unload that within maybe 10 minutes, and then you can be back out there again and look for another 1 million credits in whatever cargo ships you find. If you get lucky, you can even find ships with a lot more than 1 million credits. So I'd rather play the lottery and have a bit of fun doing the bounty missions than sit around just waiting for cargo to respawn. You can see here how many times I had to keep buying distilled spirits, and on the left there it shows you I've got 3,488 32 SCU containers. I've got 560 SCU in 8 SCU containers and 16 SCU in 16 SCU containers. So I was up to about 88% here, and I just kept going up in small increments, about 5 to 7% every time, and it took an unbelievably long time to fill up the Hull C for the second time. So as much fun as this was, it definitely isn't going to be the fastest moneymaker, but if you head to this terminal and they are available, it is definitely worth just filling up and doing a quick trip. So you can throw this into your sort of money-making gameplay loops, and every time you find a full stock of distilled spirits, fill up your Hull C and go and make yourself 700k. But on the other hand, I'm definitely going to stick to Vaughn missions. I'm going to make my money there, and then maybe I'll just, every time I'm in Checkmate, I'll just check out what distilled spirits are available, load up the Hull C and go and sell them for a quick buck. So that was my frustrations with this mission. Not enough people mention that in their videos, that, you know, cargo hauling is fun, but it can take you an awfully long time. So here I am filling up once again. I do enjoy the filling up process and watching the ship get completely filled up with cargo. and I'm going to head back to the Pyro Gateway in Stanton and make myself another 700k. But I definitely won't be sitting around waiting for it to try and fill it up ever again. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope this gave you some valuable information into cargo hauling with the Hull C. Definitely a fun gameplay loop, but not one you're going to make massive amounts of money per day on. Unfortunately, you are at the mercy of the server and the availability of whatever commodities you want to transport. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. And until next time, guys, take it easy.